I'd be curious to know, I suppose a lot of people would, if you still, I was going to say, are you still swinging? Do you work out every day on the...
Yes, I do. I haven't been doing much of it lately, but I'll be starting a picture in about a month, and I'll begin to work out every day.
Mm-hmm.
I still work with my old partner, Nick Cavett, who was in many pictures with me, like The Crimson Pirate, The Flame and the Arrow. Mm-hmm. And we'll get together and begin to work out every day. I'll start to ride, because it's a Western, and do all the things that you do in getting ready for a part.
Mm-hmm. How would you feel about telling a fire department to hold it down? Second time. I heard that you run around the UCLA track, or used to, every morning.
Yes, I still.
Maybe you'd rather not mention this so we don't attract a crowd there at 6
Well,
a.m.
I do it just to fight the cigarette habit, really, more than anything.
Ah, yeah. Does that work?
Not as well as it ought to. It would work better if I stopped smoking.
I should know this before the show. I should have found out. But is Robert Stroud still alive?
No, Stroud is dead. He died some years ago. As a matter of fact, back in 1963, he died. He died about a year after I saw him.
The Birdman of Alcatraz. Did he get to see the film?
No, it's very strange. No one was permitted to see Stroud except his attorney. Mm-hmm. But after the film came out, Senator Long, the senator from Missouri, who was sort of head of the prison commissions, arranged for me to meet Stroud. And I went to see him at the hospital in Springfield, Missouri. And I met him. He was then a man in his very early 70s, still very vital, very full of life, and a very strange man, very bitter, of course, about the entire penal system, which somehow or other failed to recognize his very unique and very special and wonderful talents. And but the head of it was a prison hospital, and the head of the hospital, the warden, who was also a public health officer, told me that that Stroud, they didn't expect him to live throughout the year. He had a chronic liver ailment, brought about, I dare say, by the alcohol that he used to mix in his cell, and whatever the reasons were, he died very shortly thereafter and was never freed. He could have been free, but he was a man of a unique and independent spirit. He didn't want to be under any sort of probationary rule. He felt that he wanted to go out, that he had, as it were, paid his society for what he had done, and he wanted no strings attached to that kind of freedom. And therefore, because he had an opportunity to be sent to a home in Texas where he could get medical attention and live pretty much the way he wanted, but still not as free as he would like to be. Wouldn't be free to travel and so forth. And he wouldn't take it under those conditions. It was quite unique.
What would he have done to reform the penal system from his situation?
Well, he has written a book which is in the process of being edited. At the time that I saw him, this book was being held by the United States government, was in the hands of and in the charge of a United States Marshal. The Marshal who I spoke to told me that the book was a tremendously unique book. A following court case ensued, and the Stroud estate, such as it is, has won, and now the book is in the hands of his lawyers. And although I don't know the contents of the book, and so I can't say specifically what Stroud would have felt, but he felt, I think, as any reasonable person must understand, that a penal system as we have it almost anywhere in the world is brutal beyond any description, not because people beat people up or something like that, but the idea of incarcerating a human being in a prison where there is no real opportunity for rehabilitation to take them out of the mainstream of society well, it's barbaric, to say the least.
And it doesn't work.
No, that's the point. It doesn't work. The rate of recidivism, the amount of people who go back to prison as a result after being freed, is so high that it's obvious that the world, our society, has not found some way yet to deal with people like that, to make them really contributing members of a society. And the old laws of eye for an eye and punishment, as it were, do not really achieve very much except bitterness and hatred and a recurrence of the crimes.
Mm-hmm. Have you, you're one of the Hollywood actors who's known for the enthusiasm with which he gets into things like political matters, and I believe Carol Chessman, who were active. And I often wonder now if this introduces tensions into your work when you work with an actor who is almost at the polarity of your views.
Diametrically opposed.
Diametric, that old high school debating phrase.
I have never found it so, because when I do my work, I think of another actor as someone that I'm working with in terms of the story we're making. And I don't particularly choose to go out of my way to bait that person or get into a political discussion or something of that kind. I try to relate that person to that person as just another human being.
Yeah.
And of course, you find as you get older that there are many people who don't think like you do, but are also wonderful people.
One or two. Did you get involved in the mayoralty?
Yes, I was very heavily involved. I'm afraid that John Wayne beat me once more. He's a pretty tough guy, John.
the Birch Society is taking a lot of credit for, they're claiming that they've swung the balance in Mayor Yorty's favor in Los Angeles, and I don't know if that embarrasses him or not. I don't know much about him.
Well, I don't know that they, I think, you know, in the primaries that we had first, Tom Bradley, who was a black man, had some 42% of the entire city vote. And Mayor Yorty, who was the incumbent mayor and of course was re-elected, had some 26%. Then the remaining 30-odd% was divided between other candidates. It was pretty clear that the body politic, as it were, didn't want Mr. Yorty, or they would prefer to have someone else. But in the actual election, which was between Mayor Yorty and Tom Bradley, it was laid out as an open and shut black and white problem. And there was an enormous attempt to appeal to the white people and to raise their fears about the idea of having a black mayor. It was unfortunate because it's indicative of the fact that there is still between the races too much fear and distrust, but that's really what it came down to.
Did Yorty's tactics surprise you?
I would say from a political point of view, I must say that Mr. Yorty was brilliant in his tactics. From a humanitarian point of view, he was absolutely both obscene and obnoxious.
Sort of stooped to his own level, eh? Let's see. I read once that you were burned out. Was it for a fire, your whole entire
Yes, I lost my home in the fire back in 1962. It was 400 homes in that particular area, of which my home was one of them.
That year, I was out there that year with Jack
November
Parr. We had
62.
nothing to do with it, either of us. But,
There's a funny thing about that fire. We all felt rather proud. I think there were 2 or 3 houses that weren't touched, and the people were afraid to show their faces like they hadn't made it. They weren't a member of the Corps. We sort of sneered at them.
I can't understand that. I was there at that time, and some of those people had been burned up 4 and 5 times, and they take pride in saying, we're going to come back and build again because we wouldn't live anywhere else. I'd begin to consider living somewhere else, I think, after the 5th,
I think you're right.
5th or 6th. Does it ever annoy you when they often say that film stars don't have to know how to act? By this, I mean you don't get much credit sometimes for being a fine actor in the movies because they always say you have to act on the stage because no one can fake it there, but you don't really have to act on the screen because they can make you look good. Do you know this argument?
There is some truth in that.
Yeah.
Let me try to say how I feel about it. You see, when you act on a stage and you come out as we're here now, you are, in a sense, as it were, naked or alone. You have to do your bag or your stick or whatever you want to call it. And there it is. And you are good, bad, or indifferent, depending on what you are. When you work in the movies, you work in little bits and pieces, and you are manipulated for various reasons. You're generally constantly, at the moment of acting, under the control of a director who uses you and manipulates you and moves you for a desired end. Now, you know what he's up to. You've discussed what he's up to, and you try to give him that. But you don't get that kind of thing like when you're in the theater here working, where your entire own personality and what you are takes over, and you have to deliver by yourself. In that sense, it's possible to take an actor who is what we would call a bad actor, but who is personable looking or something, and manipulate the performance of that person on the screen and make it come out all right.
Yeah.
If the person moves awkwardly, you shoot a close-up of them, so you don't show that awkwardness. If they can't, as we call it, take stage or command the scene, you can sit them someplace as we are seated here, and by their reactions or by the look in their face, you can project the power of the person and make the scene come off. So there is a difference, but in another sense, acting in the screen, in my opinion, is much more difficult, requires much more, how shall I say, concentration on what you're doing, much more understanding up here to get the end result, because very often it's so subtle. Very often it's done in such a simple way, and it's more demanding. You're also more confined. You therefore have to have more control. All of these factors come into it. Very often you see actors on the stage who are very good actors, and you watch them in the movie and they're not effective, you see.
Yeah. I get the feeling from what I know of you that a lot of people don't like you in Hollywood because of your... Wait a minute. I hope I live through this sentence. But I've read several pieces on you, and because of your integrity and the fact that you don't take any ordure from the bosses and things, you have been known to make by a kind of odd reverse jealousy or envy of your integrity. A number of people just don't dig you because of that. That's not you don't play the game, in other words. Do you think? Would you say you have a lot of friends in Hollywood? Do you have one less here on the show than you had in Hollywood? I tried to ask an intelligent question.
You have.
I'm not sure I did.
Well, let me say this. I like to think that everybody who really knows me likes me.
Right. Okay. I believe we've come to a pause. We'll be back. Your film, Castle Keep, is the title of your new film.
Yes, that's right.
And I thought it would be gracious of me to mention it while we're here.
Thank you very much.
I hear that it's been described by somebody as a funny war film. How is this possible
Well, there's
today?
a lot of humor in it. A lot of humor in it, but it's kind of black humor.
Yeah.
It's a very serious film, really, from that point of view. Got a lot of sex in it, a lot of humor, got a lot
You
of
separate the two,
anti-war.
I notice. Has it opened in New York yet?
It's opening Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
It's well, I worked on this film for 2 years, and it represents some very strong feelings that I have about war. What I would like to see is the lack of war. Mm-hmm. And to that extent, I hope the film makes its message very clearly. It's a very unusual film, very modern film, and one that is addressed to all peoples, but particularly I think young people will dig it.
Mm-hmm. There is unconscious humor in the papers about war. What was it, several months ago? I didn't hear much comment about this, but they had found that in Vietnam, somebody was scrawling peace symbols and things on some of the Army equipment. And there was an investigation, and one high-ranking officer was quoted as saying, "This is just a very small minority doing this sort of thing. I don't think most of the guys here want peace or anything like it."